Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again, and on today's video I want to show you a build that I've been thinking about for quite a while, which is Icecrash crit Facebreakers as an Inquisitor. So I want to go full cold damage or full LE damage, and in this case it is 100% Fizz to cold convert with Icecrash. It's using Facebreakers, it's using a Rigward's Talisman, it's an Inquisitor with Abyssus, it crits things, it one-shots things. Whoops, everything's dead. Thank you very much for watching, I'll see you guys next time. But seriously, this is a build I've been wanting to do for maybe a year or two, a Facebreaker Icecrash build, and as an Inquisitor, which prior to this patch would have had to have incorporated some other form of conversion because Icecrash wasn't 100%. So I wanted to do Facebreakers and I wanted to do crit, and I wanted to use a Fizz to lightning and then be some sort of hybrid lightning and cold sort of thing, but with all the new Warcry shenanigans with Icecrash doing 100% of Fizz as cold now, it became pretty damn easy to build in the way that I wanted to, but just it was a lot more streamlined and there was less things I had to really involve, as opposed to just, well, the only real thing I had to involve that's different is doing all the Warcry stuff, and Warcries can be insanely powerful, as we already know. With 5 potential exerted attacks of Seismic Cry, the last attack on Seismic Cry is going to give you 150% more damage, which is just ridiculous. Your third attack on Ruthless will give you 100% more. Using the Intimidating will give you double damage 100% of the time, and that's basically how we line up a lot of those crazy one-shots at the start of the video. On average, I have no idea at this point, it's something like 20 million average big hits, but I think the top end is 40 or 50 million. We'll have to wait and see. It's still kind of a work in progress, but I am using a Warden's brand as well, and I even have 2 of them for maximum slow attack speed. With a lot of the leveling process, I had about 0.25 attack time, so 4 seconds for one wind up, and you'd think it would be kind of painful and kind of bad, and in some cases it definitely was, but this character didn't actually even die until level 85, I think it was, when I just ran into a pack of mobs a bit too quickly. But with the right sort of different playstyle and getting used to it, you can easily just like play around everything and pick your perfect moment to one-shot the entire screen. So it actually does work to be a very different playstyle, but an effective one at that. And without an Abyssus, for example, if you just chose to not use an Abyssus, you definitely could make that choice. It would be quite a bit safer, and potentially the best version of this build might even just be a Berserker, since it's pretty damn hard to go past the Berserker Ascendancy with the 40% more damage and the 50% more on the Warcry nodes, and then of course you get a little bit of Fizz damage from the other node and possibly some Leech and Mana Leech if you want it, or you could go into full-blown Rage stack. Who knows, but this is an Inquisitor, and these bosses all got one-shot. Just another quick little replay of them. Just about one-shot everything that I've come up against. It entirely will depend on the crit or the non-crit, for example, but we do have a much higher chance of critting than non-critting, something like 70% at this point, and there's a bit of setup involved. It's crazy, it's kind of fun. It's definitely one of the most out there and hard-hitting characters I've ever had, and let me show you how I built it so far. So here we are with the character. He's currently level 87, called Boomer Fisting, because he's Inquisitor, so old man, Boomer Fisting, you get the idea. He's been played for 14 hours to get to this level, with some of the slowest attack speed you'll ever see, so it's actually not that bad once you're running in and methodically picking your one attack and clearing most of the screen. Now you can see that with my dual Warden's brands, that's my one-shot setup sort of gear. They do have reduced attack speed, and when you catalyze them with quality, they can get even more reduced attack speed. It goes from 30 to 36, and Icecrash itself has a base of 0.7. So currently you can see I have 2 attack time, which is 0.5 attacks per second, and it's pretty damn slow, but I've got a bunch of attack speed through leveling and the passive tree and all of that. Before any of that, when you first put these on, it's something like 0.25 attacked per second, something like 4-second winds up. And they're big, they're really freaking slow. In this case, it's still really slow, as you can tell, and you should have just about 100% uptime on your Fist of War, which is pretty impressive. But you can make them a lot faster, and typically for my mapping setup I just put on a different ring, and I still wear one Warden's brand because it's a whole bunch of damage, but you could easily take that off as well and just run around fisting quite a bit faster. And then once you have your Blood Rage and you've got your Frenzies and you know you're actually doing things, it's really not that slow at all. But I've been going the pretty slow route, so my typical setup is about 1 attack per second. And when I do boss fights, I do put on both Warden brand rings so that we can get maximum amounts of huge fisting. Now, before I go over my gear, I think I'll just show you what the one-shot sort of setup looks like. So what you got here is your Facebreakers. 779 Morphs with unarmed means you can't wear a weapon, as is pretty customary. We've got a Rigwald's Curse, which is conventionally the best way to make your Facebreaker builds crit, because you then get 7 base crit, and then some claw stuff will apply to it too, but it's pretty uncomfortable, so going out of your way for the claw shit isn't really worth doing too well. So then you scale entirely off a flat physical. That's why this type of shit is so good. You got big Warden's brand, big Warden's brand, big Abyssus fizz damage there, and then we're crit throughout the passive tree. Bit of crit, and then bit of crit from these as well. But the one-shot sort of setup comes from exerted attacks and war cries. And once you get another additional exerted attack there, you can see that Seismic Cry will give you 30% more per exert, and on the last exert it's going to hit incredibly hard and also incredibly big area. So the maximum area I currently do with what appears to be, I think, absolutely zero investment to area on the passive tree, just this one little 10% here. Absolutely no investment on the passive tree for area. This is just Seismic Cry combined with Pulverize and combined with Blood and Sand Stance. The area is this disgusting. So it is pretty screen wide. That is what the Icecrash looks like with the MTX. Without the MTX, I'll just give you a few quick hits as well. And I have been using Screen Shake as well, because with Screen Shake, with attacks this slow, it feels pretty damn satisfying. And Fist of War makes it so anytime Fist of War is actually smashing, it does give you a nice chunky Screen Shake. The biggest possible area and attack with non-MTX is that. But the one shot is based around the last attack of your Seismic Cry, Intimidating Cry being up, pressing Berserk, which we get Rage from Chainbreaker node here, using a Timeless Jewel with Akoya. So you do stack up your Rage. Basically, you need to get your Totem down, press Berserk, have your Warcries up, press your Phase Run, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bang. And that's the one-shot setup. But for even more one-shot setup, you also put in Ruthless. But first of all, you make sure you have 3 attacks left for your Seismic. You put in your Ruthless, attack 2 more times, and then your next attack, your last one, will have a Ruthless proc. It will have the biggest possible Seismic Cry. It will be double damage. It will have Phase Run. It will use all of this other shit. And you just keep stacking more multipliers. Also, don't forget to go into Blood Stance. And that's where you get a big, filthy one-shot from. Because nothing about this is a particularly special setup. It's just entirely the mechanics of this shit with the Warcries now, which is pretty damn dirty. Because otherwise, here's my gear. We're using these Warden brand rings. They're pretty cheap to go with to start with, but perfect ones are going to be a little bit more. And Abyssus has some dash cooldown use, but to be honest, I don't max out on that very often. You can get an Icecrash one with even more damage. Rigord's Talisman, they're pretty cheap. Facebreakers, pretty cheap. These do have crit on them, so these cost me, I think, like 50C or something. Lycosidate, just so you can always hit. It's pretty tough to fix accuracy otherwise. And then your 3 items that aren't uniques and are going to do some heavy lifting in the resist category. Just a regular life chest that you can craft pretty comfortably. It's an Elder Astral Plate. So basically, I just kept going with Chaos Spam, Dense Fossils, not dense, pristine fossils, shit like that until I got the 2 life rolls, and then you can custom build the rest of it pretty comfortably with your harvest crafting. But all you're really looking for is the life rolls. Ultimately, it's not even that important. You can just start with 100 life roll, because my current crafted max life as ES doesn't really do anything. And instead, you could just craft 8% life, 8% mana manually from the bench. So it's really easy to craft a good life crit chest with harvest at the moment. A Redeemer belt, all you really need to start with here is, ridiculously enough, 20 reduced flask charges gained, so that's where we started. Then put on lightning with a lightning slam, fire with a fire slam. There's your 3 suffixes. Life slam, life, add, remove until you get a good one. Put on attack, put on cold, and then add, remove those until you get good ones of those. And that's your silly little belt there. And then these boots, technically absolute pieces of shit at the moment. Start with just elusive, the Redeemer boots, and then put on lightning, cold, fire. Crafted our own movement speed and onslaught, because I want a bit of onslaught like that. And then you're supposed to put on life and add, remove life till you get a good one. I've done maybe like 7 or 8 add removes, and the best I got was a 50, and now I'm back down to 4, and I've ran out of add removes for now, so shit, but doesn't really matter. About 5k life is all we need to do most of the content comfortably enough, but with enough min-max, a few more levels and all that, we should be hitting 6k life without too many troubles, I think. It's just up to the min-max and if I'll take it that far. As far as the character's passive tree and all that, we are of course Inquisitor. Our first 4 nodes go this way, then this way. You just get life and exerted attacks and shit. We picked up Unwavering Stance at around level 70, 75 or so, because you will start getting stunned at that point. For most of the leveling process, I was picking up life and just taking as much life as I can so that I won't be getting stunned. But once you get Unwavering, you shouldn't be getting stunned out of your attacks anyway. And then some crits, some exerted, some crits. And I ended up deciding to do 1 cluster jewel. It's not very sexy or anything, just 8 passives. Has Vengeful Commander, the main thing we're looking for, but whatever else you can get over there. You then get a couple of mediums that also have Vengeful Commander, but also Precise Commander. They're pretty easy to craft with Harvest as well on these non-aura jewels. And then I had to get a bit of Dexterity on some smalls with Fettle and Dexterity, because it's tough to get Dexterity in the build otherwise. And for the most part, I was using an actual Dexterity node for a very long time, and another Dexterity node, I think, somewhere else. Overall, it's been pretty ridiculous. It's a pretty silly character. It can be maxed out a lot higher. I think I'm probably at about 50% of the potential of the deeps if you get proper awakened gems, if you max out certain jewels in your tree, which I currently have done none of. My next few points can go there and there, getting some good jewel sockets. There's still plenty to max out overall if I really wanted to. This is my steel ring, sorry, I also forgot to mention that. Need a shaped steel ring, and you can craft that pretty easily if you know what you're doing as well with harvest crafting. It's a pretty basic one. You essentially just want to start with the LE damage with attacks and then do like non-crit to crit or augment crits. There's only 2 crit rolls on suffixes, and you'll eventually get the crit chance with the Assassin Mark. You then slam some life, slam some fizz. A pretty basic thing to make, but looks rather insane in any other league's context. And yeah, I think that's all I'll say for now about the character. You can see the links all about there and the current supports and all that. Hopefully in the next video, when I take on all the rest of the endgame, like Osiris, we have some more one-shots, but it is a bit sketchy. I may have to invest a bit more, maybe grab a fancy little bottled faith, just for more reliable crits. We have to wait and see, but it's been quite a blast so far. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.